is no right way for yoga. Yoga is about inviting you to become your own witness. So you learn to observe yourself with compassion, curiosity, and openness, and really become empowered from looking for the answers inward rather than from trying to find them outside of yourself.
Yoga was the first experience I've ever had where I felt stillness in my mind, and any sort of like meditation or single pointed focus. I had come from really high intensity sports, so I loved movement and I loved being able to move my body while I found that meditative flow. So that was something that just grabbed me and that I had been searching for again and again in classes and with teachers. And that's ultimately why I went for the teacher training program. That's really what captured me, is like being able to still my mind through this practice and feel in the moment with movement.
A number of things. So it was a much more interactive process than I expected. Obviously, the students had a chance to ask questions, but it was very participatory. So she would ask volunteers to come up and hold a pose so she could demonstrate a modification, for example, or vice versa. She would go into a pose and have the students offer modifications. It was a very interactive process, and we worked much more closely with each other as students than I would have expected. And so it was very interactive, I suppose, is the best word I can think of, process all the way through it. And through that process, I got to know some of the other students quite well. And of course, Sarah really rounded out the curriculum very nicely.
It was my first experience getting some sort of education, not in a traditional American education setting. And so I came with my laptop and all my highlighters and my pens and my books and all these things. And it was so much more just of like verbal storytelling experience, and whatever lands with you, whatever sits in your brain, it was meant to be there. So hang on to that. Just the expectation of just immersing myself and just letting the teachings find me instead of forcing that memory to happen is the biggest. And then the surprising piece about that is how much of it did land. And I just naturally remembered, which I didn't experience in traditional education. That was the most surprising thing, is being able to just go and sit and listen and hear the stories and learn about yoga and history.
I had been looking at different yoga schools because I was looking at different programs, and I had a conversation with her. She had called me to see about somebody I was using for some business stuff, and we just started talking, and I just felt really connected and excited. And that it really was just like coincidence that I met her on the phone and I ended up signing up.
I wouldn't say it's for everyone, because it's for people who want to really dedicate to their yoga practice and take it a step further and go deeper into their practice. And whether or not you ever intend to stand in front of a class and teach is almost irrelevant, because the journey that I went through had nothing to do with my teaching. It had to do with the experience of being in the class and broadening my horizon well beyond just, oh, this is the pose. Okay, what does the pose mean? What is it working on? And going way deeper into the Yoga Sutras and understanding the spiritual side of yoga, which I hadn't had much connection to prior to class. So that there's so much more to this training than just teaching you to stand up and lead a class. So if any of that resonates with you, or you want to just go deeper into the poses and deeper into your own yoga experience, take the class, whether you ever plan to teach or not. I wasn't planning on teaching, and it turns out I am teaching now and I love it, but that was not my goal, and it was not the key takeaway from this training. That the takeaway had much more to do with my own personal transformation of my journey than it was teaching me to stand in front of a class.
It completely demolished that sense that I had clung so tightly to for so long. It really challenged that sense of achievement and posture. That's important because it also really dissected my understanding of yoga versus asana. And now I have a really deep understanding of yoga as a philosophy, a lifestyle, a way of living by this book.
The biggest way yoga transformed me in this particular group of people being in that is I'm a high achiever and I am driven to do things the best I can. And physically, being an athlete, I always wanted to perform. And my body wasn't allowing me to do certain poses. And yoga taught me that it's the process, not the pose. It's what I'm learning in the pose that's more important. It's learning how to connect with yourself and your own awareness. It isn't about striving for some result. It's more about really embodying your own wisdom and truth through practice. A lot of people could do an online program, and I would totally not recommend that, because I think one of the biggest, coolest things about our experience was the Sangha and the community. And we had such a tender, safe space that allowed us all to be vulnerable and real. And Sarah brings so much joy and play into it that it makes it so much more light. There's so much deepness to it, but she brings a lightness that was woven throughout the whole program that made it really special with the Sangha and the group of women.
The teachings are what is so impactful. I had always wanted to be a yoga teacher for years and years and years. I was too scared to do it. And then after moving to Durango, I had a really hard time building a community. And so I wanted to get this certificate so that I could go into a gym or go work somewhere in Durango, teach yoga, and meet people that way. But I had that community 3 weeks into the program. So the sense of community is definitely one of the pillars that stood out to me as being very transformational. One of the other pillars that stands out in this program is Sarah does a really beautiful job of storytelling, is just so captivating, and that's why it permeated my brain so much. She's just so rooted in Ashtanga. She just feels like so steeped in what she knows in the lineage, and I just love all of the life lessons that come with it too.
This work with Sarah and the Ana Yoga School has completely transformed who I am as a person. It started 10 years ago when I first took up yoga, and I started yoga because I was in a pretty dark place and I needed help. And so I decided I needed to start taking care of myself because I wasn't any good to the people around me. And so I started taking yoga. I started getting a regular massage and regular acupuncture, and just decided I need to take care of me so that I have something to give to other people. And so that's where it began. And it really was 75 minutes of just turning off everything in my head and being able to just focus on whatever this instructor, Sarah in many cases, was telling me to do. And so that was such a huge relief for me to have that little bit of time that I could just tune out the world and focus on me. I put a lot into it, and I got a complete transformation of who I am. I've always been wound pretty tightly, and my wife was shocked at who I became through this yoga experience. I've always been a slave to the clock. And when it's time to go, we got to go right now. There's no messing around with it. And one day we were getting ready to go camping, and we had planned on leaving at, let's say, 10 o'clock. And normally as 10 o'clock rolled around, I'd become there to be around as the clock was getting closer and closer, and I could see she wasn't going to be ready. And this one morning, it was late into the yoga teacher training, and I was working on memorizing my mantras. And I was sitting on the sofa downstairs chanting the mantras, the various 3 different mantras that we were working on. And she's like, who is this person, right? And it became well after 10 o'clock, and I'm still sitting there just working on my mantras and completely chill. That was the first experience where she realized this is having a big impact on Ken. I paired up with one of the other students in class, and he was deep into meditations. And I was not. I couldn't sit still for 5 minutes, let alone sit still for a half hour and not be doing something. But he convinced me to go sit, and he would take me on a guided meditation, and mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing, or he would call it heart-blowing opportunity, as I completely, problems that I'd been facing for my entire lifetime just disappeared. Anger that I'd been carrying for 65 years disappeared. And it's just absolutely stunning to me how that experience. And that was a part of the process. That was a huge piece of it as well, was these meditation sessions and him helping me see what was right in front of me. When you look, do you see? And I wasn't seeing. So this again was part of this overall process, this experience that has completely transformed who I am. And all of the anger that I've been carrying my entire life, I was a hair's breadth away from rage my entire life. And any little thing could set me off. It's just gone. It's gone now. And so to have that experience and to have the teacher training and the confidence that I got from Sarah to step up in front of the class and lead a class, and to be able to really focus on more of the spiritual side of yoga rather than just the physical asana side, it's been unbelievable, an unbelievable transformation.
The biggest thing that hit me in this program was realizing how silly some of the things that scare me or the things that hold me back are, and using all of the teachings to pair my understanding of the human experience with what's been holding me back or what I've been focusing on, to have something to root myself against. I understand what that is because of this, and guide my life that way. It's through this lens of yoga, of self-study, of undoing what has been done and finding the root of who you are.
If you're getting the nudge, then you're already ready for the program. Do it. If someone is contemplating it, then they're already curious, and there's no better way to learn about yourself than getting in an environment, especially with a Sangha and yoga group, to discover yourself. Yoga is about discovering yourself. You will be amazed at what comes out just by this nudge.
I don't see any reason not to do it. I think that this experience will be a hugely positive experience for anyone who's willing to put forth the effort. If you're not willing to put forth the effort, don't bother. Don't waste your time and don't waste anybody else's time. Only when you're ready, when you are ready to seriously commit to a huge change within yourself, then go do this. Because this is not about learning how to do a proper extended side angle, or how to, step up in front of a class and get the butterflies out of the way and be able to lead a class. That's part of it, of course, but the biggest thing is, how much do you want to change? And if you don't want to change and you're not willing to change, then you shouldn't be doing it, because you're going to change in this process. You're going to change for the better. If you're considering it and you're willing to put forth the effort and you're open to change, go do it.
Do not question it and just commit to it, and be ready to fully commit to it, and to be ready to have your life completely turned upside down in a really beautiful way, and meet a really wonderful community and learn a lot about yourself that you've probably been trying to learn for a really long time. And if you're like me and you're really intimidated about achieving or doing it, ignore all of that until you can let it go and just do it. Just commit and just do it. Especially when it feels like society is so close to maybe completely changing for forever. It's the perfect time to do something like this, because we feel it in our society. Everybody is so close to being like, this isn't how I want to live my life. And yoga was the tool for me, specifically what I learned in Sarah's 300 hour. That was the experience that lit the switch to be like, oh yeah, this isn't what I want to be doing, so I shouldn't be doing it, and I'm not going to do it.